Hello, bosses, and welcome to today's Wednesday workshop. I'm Emily, Bossed Up's founder and CEO, and it's so great to connect with many of you on our weekly series featuring women and organizations that can help you craft a happy, healthy, and sustainable career path. I am so excited to introduce you today to Ursula Mead. Ursula is the founder of InHerSight, an exciting new website and really a new tool for any and all of us to use to highlight how companies are supporting women in the workplace. And the thing I love about InHerSight, which I first read about on Forbes, on my good friend Kathy Caprino's Forbes blog, but has been making a splash in the press all over the place last month especially, is the transparency it brings to helping women and workplaces see how they can better support one another. So I'm so excited for you to hear from Ursula in just a minute. She just so happens to be based out of Arlington, just around the corner from Washington, D.C., where we at Bossed Up are based. And so we had the chance to grab coffee earlier in the month and plan this exciting conversation for you today. A couple of housekeeping bits before I introduce you to Ursula. I'm going to be live tweeting some of Ursula's best takeaways and some of this conversation today. You can follow along on Twitter at BossedUpOrg, and you can tweet at InHerSight, InHerSight. So that's at BossedUpOrg and at InHerSight. And we'll be also using the hashtag BossTip that we use every Wednesday. So if there's a tip or something that you glean from Ursula's and our conversation today, make sure to share that and add to the conversation with hashtag BossTip, because it can help us all keep track of the insights that we're gaining from InHerSight and from Ursula and this conversation. For those of you who are new to Bossed Up, although I'm seeing lots of wonderful alums, Bossed Up Bootcamp alums amongst us here. Hi, Corinne, it's great to see you. And for those of you who are new to Bossed Up, a quick introduction, the 3 things that make Bossed Up really unique in how we help you craft a sustainable career. The first is that work, love, and wellness are connected. In everything we do, we take that holistic approach to helping you craft not only a sustainable career path, but a sustainable lifestyle. The second is that community is key. This is not about one woman rising above the rest. This is about helping each other, because when all women do better, we all do better. And so bosses lift as we climb, as we like to say in our community. And finally, and this is so perfect for today's conversation with Ursula, we are data-driven research junkies. So I'm always about making sure that we have metrics-based advice that we're giving out throughout every one of our workshops, every one of our in-person trainings, which are exciting and coming up soon, by the way. And everything we do, whether it's our downloadable freebies on the website or the research-driven curriculum at Bossed Up Bootcamp, you're going to hear more about other ways that we can work together and get to know one another even better at the end of today's conversation. But please feel free to tweet at us your questions or take advantage of this wonderful chat bar where our alums are especially active, which I love every week. But feel free to take advantage of the webinar chat to also ask questions, because I'll be monitoring that carefully and flagging anything for Ursula. So without any further ado, I'm going to have Ursula bring up her camera and mic herself, and I'm so excited for you to take it away. Thanks for joining us, Ursula.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you, Emily, for the introduction and for the opportunity to share what we're doing at InHerSight with your audience. I have to commend Emily on what she's doing for professional women. As she mentioned, we had coffee recently, and her charisma and her energy is so exciting to us. It's really fantastic. And as someone who is juggling a lot right now in her career and in her personal life, I think that the work she's doing is just incredibly valuable, and we're very excited to be here with Bossed Up today. So as Emily mentioned, I am the founder of InHerSight. I am also the head of premium membership and product experience at a financial tech company called The Motley Fool. And in the rest of my ample free time, I'm a mom to a very precocious little 3-year-old who actually took the picture right here of the InHerSight team. I'm very proud that she was able to take that picture because the camera was very heavy. But that is the whole team behind InHerSight. We have been working together to create products and to solve problems using technology together for more than 7 years. And we have actually been spending our nights and weekends for the last 18 months building the InHerSight platform. You might call it a passion project of ours that we're very fortunate has taken off and is starting to really make the kind of contribution we've been hoping it would make. So here's what we do. We set out in early 2014 with the goal of improving the workplace for women. And we wanted to use that using two key tools that we really believe in. Those are transparency and accountability, which we'll talk a little bit more about later. But our mission is to help women find what they're looking for from their employers and improve what they get from their employers. So we're often referred to as the trip advisor for women in the workplace. And we actually really love that comparison because we think it's a really great model. So for those of you who are not familiar with TripAdvisor, it is also a ratings platform, and there's also a degree of anonymity and security there. And that platform helps travelers find what they want from service providers like hotels. And then by capturing their ratings and their reviews and aggregating all of that, it helps improve what those travelers get from those service providers. Because of that transparency and those ratings, there's this ongoing conversation, there's ongoing feedback that those providers respond to make sure that they can continue to attract travelers and to retain the travelers who are great customers. So we wanted to do that for women and employers. So we are trying to do for women and employers what TripAdvisor does for, say, travelers and service providers. I want to talk a little bit about the factors that have been driving us and motivating us to do this now, and for building InHerSight in general. There is a critical conversation happening right now across the country between employees and companies, men and women. We're all recognizing and coming to terms with the problems that still exist for many working women, and they exist in many workplaces. Most of us know a lot of the sobering statistics. Things like less than 5% of Fortune 500 CEOs are women. Less than 10% of employers offer fully paid maternity leave, and that number is declining. Since 2008 or 2009, it has been reduced significantly. And truly flexible work schedules are sadly a lot harder to find than you might think. So there's a lot of general statistics about career growth, personal development, and professional opportunities for women that have highlighted all of the growth that we still need to have. So we still have a long way to go, and we really wanted to sort of accelerate how quickly we can get where we need to go to help women achieve what they want and what they care about at work, whether that is climbing the ranks to top leadership and being part of the C-suite, or being able to make it to your daughter's soccer game every week and know that that's not having a negative impact on your career, or learning from mentors at your organization or from other colleagues so that you can become a more well-rounded and a more enriched employee. Like many working women, people that I know and am friends with in my life and that I've heard from since we started InHerSight, I've seen and I've experienced a lot of these issues firsthand. And that has prompted me to look for solutions. So I spent several years following everything that we've been doing for women in the workplace and looking at the different types of initiatives that were taking place. And it's great because we need to be approaching these problems from a lot of different angles. So the more ways we can tackle them, the better. But a lot of the solutions that were out there weren't things that necessarily resonated with me based on my background and my area of focus. And as Emilie mentioned, I'm someone who loves data. So a lot of the solutions were not grounded in some of the things that are very important to me. So we started to look at these and what were the solutions, and start to think about, well, what are they doing, and what else can we contribute to the conversation to that's different. So we looked at things like policy change. Policy change is incredibly slow. It's incredibly important, but it's slow. It can be very divisive, and it can also be one size fits all. So it may be addressing a problem that a lot of companies have and a lot of working women are experiencing, but maybe some that others don't. And so that would be promoting change in a specific area for just the groups that need that kind of change, and missing what maybe those other employers need help with. There are things like mentorship, and mentorship has been a really hot topic lately, and there's a lot happening around that space, both to make sure that it is effective and that it's scalable. But for the moment, it's very time consuming in many cases, and it's often, from how I see it, more about teaching women how to navigate the status quo and sort of make their way through what exists currently, and less about trying right now to change the status quo. So mentorship, especially because of all of the demands on my time, hasn't seemed like a great solution for me, and for a lot of women that I know. And then another example of ways that we're tackling this are things like corporate initiatives. I love to see that a lot of companies are getting involved in the conversation, and they are being proactive about, say, distributing their ratios and sending out how many women, what percent of women are in their leadership teams, or how many weeks they have with maternity leave. But employer-driven initiatives also have their limitations. Success from those is determined by the employers. There is a lot of, it's a little bit more opaque because they have set out the parameters or choosing what to focus on and working toward specific things that they have, as a company, have chosen. And something that is very employer driven also feels like it's sort of missing the heart, which is, working women and what they want to see fixed and improved and how they want to get there, and making sure that is front and center. We've all probably taken a survey at our companies with our employers and wondered, what happened to that survey? Where did those results go? Did anything come of it? And those are the kinds of things that we're trying to solve for with InHerSight. So really, in trying to figure out how to drive change in my life and career and in the lives of other working women that I know, I learned that it's really about each individual woman having the tools and the resources that are right for them to make the right decisions for themselves. Success and having it all, very hot topics too, but they mean different things to different women, and they mean different things at different times in your life and at different times in your careers. And so I've seen that what we want isn't just a single perfect policy or a one model company, but it's really the opportunity to find the workplaces where each of us has the best chance to thrive. And in the process of making it possible for us to find those workplaces, to encourage more employers to provide the support and create the workplaces that women need. So that's really how we got our start and what's been driving us, and what motivated us to start InHerSight. Now I want to talk a little bit about what we're doing and how we're trying to do this. We decided to use anonymous ratings and reviews to measure the reality of our workplaces and try to better quantify what company policies and cultures mean for the women who work at those companies. Trying to get at measurable, actionable data that we can make decisions based on, and data that companies can make decisions based on. And it's this combination of subjective ratings and a common framework for measurement that really allows us to combine the insights that we have into powerful data that can make change. For example, a company can say on paper that they have 12 weeks of maternity leave. We're trying to get at what are women's real experiences with that maternity leave? It's great to know that there are 12 weeks, but if there's a soft policy of pressure to return to work early, or if every time a woman leaves for maternity leave, they come back to a different job or a job that's changed, that 12 weeks suddenly doesn't seem so appealing anymore. Or a company could say on paper in their employee handbook that they offer flexible work hours. But there's really no way of knowing right now if women feel like they're able to use that flexibility and if it's consistent across an organization or if it varies depending on your manager or which department you're in. And we need more information like that, because when was the last time you've been in a job interview and you felt comfortable asking the types of questions that are around things like maternity leave and flexibility? So we're using anonymous crowdsourced data to try to quantify some of the problems and highlight where things are going really well. This is an example here of our platform and of the InHerSight website. On this side, we have on the left, I'm not sure if you can see my mouse, we have the actual ratings portion where you go through and you rate a company, and you can rate current or past employers. And we are using a standard 5-star scale. It's very quick. It works on any device. And then you can also see the output of what the ratings have, which is what we call our company scorecard. And this is a scorecard for Fitbit. And we take all of the data that our men and women have put in, and we show you everything that we've collected. You can see all of the ratings details. Every metric has its score from top to bottom, how things rank. And you can also see how they're doing across 3 main categories of personal, career, and family support. And at the bottom, we also include some comments where people write in to add some more color to their rating, and I'm going to share some of those later as well. But until now, no one was gathering and publicly sharing crowdsourced data on workplace support for women. There were plenty of ratings platforms. I mentioned TripAdvisor, but there's Yelp, there's even Glassdoor, Angie's List, but none have had this focus on transparency around very specific female-focused metrics. We wanted to make sure that we were collecting information on factors that companies can control, so where they're likely to have policies, so that these are things that they can actually improve on. And we also wanted to make sure that we were collecting data on a diverse enough set of metrics that the information we're gathering could be valuable to women who have many different definitions of success, because let's face it, we're all unique and we have dozens of different things that matter to us in ways that we define success in our career. So how it works. It's pretty simple. Women rate their companies across the 14 standard metrics that we have, things like maternity leave, flexible work hours, and telecommuting. And then these generate the company scorecards. And then women can use that data to find the companies where they will thrive, and at the same time hold companies accountable for their support. Companies get that feedback, and they know what's working and what's not in their support for women. And now, especially right now, with women increasingly dominating the talent pool, and every day I think I read another study about the value of diverse workforces, more than ever, companies not only need to know and want to understand how to attract and retain women, but they are benefiting as organizations from having that talent. So this is and has become a very valuable tool for companies who want to understand where they're doing well and where they need to improve if they want to attract and retain that female talent. Oops, skip the slide. So I showed you a Fitbit scorecard, and then I just pulled up a couple of 6 random scorecards so you could see at a glance the differences. And what I mean by making it easier for women to find what they're looking for and make it easier for companies to identify what's going well and what needs improvement. And you can do that quickly just through these scales, the visual scales of the support for personal, career, and family growth. And you can see that if you're someone who is looking for career growth, you're going to have a very different experience from the ratings we've gathered so far when you go to Getty Images or Facebook, which have a lot of career growth, versus going to someplace like City or YouTube. And this is really important for you to know going in if the number one way that you define success in your career is through being able to continue to climb through the ranks and feel like you are moving through the career ladder. Similarly, if you're looking for things like personal development and personal growth and a culture that is really built on fostering that and the individual, Getty Images isn't as strong there. City is also not strong there. But you look at something like NBC, or again, you look at Facebook, and you can see and have a better feeling of, hey, this is the kind of company that does a good job promoting personal growth. And then, of course, the same thing for family, where you probably aren't going to get great support at the Department of Veterans Affairs or really at a lot of government agencies. But there are a lot of other companies where if you are starting a family, thinking about starting a family, or if you are have a family and you want to make sure that that is a supportive environment for that, you can find that. And so City might not be a great place for personal or career growth, but it's okay if you're looking for family support. If you're looking for a combination, Facebook's a great place to be, but I know we can't all work for Facebook. So it's important that we get this kind of transparency and data for as many companies as possible. I mentioned that at the bottom of the scorecard page, there is a comment section. And, this is one of those things where you never know what you're going to get, but we have been so proud and excited about the type of guidance and help that women are providing to other women on these pages. I randomly pulled out 3 quotes from the bottom of scorecards and wanted to share them with you. The first is, "There's a bit of a stigma against women who are assertive and outspoken. They are too often dismissed as difficult. Outspoken, brash male employees, on the other hand, tend to move up." This isn't something that you would get from our data. It's not something that you could necessarily hear in the story that the data tells, but it's a very interesting point, and it's something that the organization needs to be aware of, that there's this perception. And it may be something that they want to address, but they may have never even known that existed, because those conversations can be really difficult. And so a company that is reading this, and other women who are looking at this, will get a sense for what the culture is like. A second example is, although we have a woman CEO, I have seen a lot of women executives leave as they weren't promoted and didn't get the support they needed. I think that this is a really interesting comment because, from the outside, when you see a woman who has made it to the top of an organization, there can often be a lot of other assumptions about the support that women get. But we want to understand going in just how deeply ingrained that support is, and make sure that when there are women in top leadership, that the women who are at that organization have felt like the process to getting there has been good, and that's actually ingrained in the company's culture. A third comment is about family support. Paid maternity leave is currently 14 weeks, but only 1 week for paternity leave. There are no official telecommuting and flexible work hour policies, meaning these are up to managerial discretion, and people working in different groups can have very different experiences. This is something I mentioned earlier, which is there's a lot of variability in the experiences that people have in organizations, and I think it's really important to shed some more light on that, just so that you know going in what to expect. So this is something that is coming out soon on our scorecards, which is more visibility into the variance around the ratings for a metric. So you can see if there's consistency in the organization, or if you need to be aware that it could depend on your manager, it could depend on your department, and if it's something you really care about, you need to get some more clarification before going in, so you know what to expect. I also wanted to highlight a couple of the trends that we're seeing in our data, because they are interesting to me, and I think that they would be interesting to women who haven't considered other spaces like nonprofits. So nonprofits may be your best chance of having it all. When we look at our data right now, and it's constantly changing, but nonprofits actually get very high ratings across the board. That was news to me and a surprise to me, because when I think about nonprofits, I think about very resource constrained environments. And I think of very flat organizations. And so it may not actually be about the structure or the resources, but more about the culture. And women, for personal, career, and family support, have rated nonprofit organizations incredibly high. And it's just something that I wouldn't have thought. Tech may be best in your 20s, but it's still a good place to be a working mom. So I don't know if any of you read Claire K. Miller's article in The Upshot um, about support and the types of benefits that exist in tech companies. But the gist of it was that all of these perks are great, but they're a lot better for people in their 20s than they are for, say, working parents. And that may be true. I believe it. You may not need the dry cleaning, or you may not need some of the game room or perks like that as you enter your 30s. But when we look at the support that women get in tech as parents, the support that they're getting is still leaps and bounds better than the support in most industries and in most other companies. So it's all relative. A third trend I wanted to highlight is that it seems like a good mentorship program is a bit like a unicorn. Mentorship is our lowest rated metric across the board right now, which I think is really interesting. These are, company mentorship programs. And so while we are seeing this as a solution, right now women aren't very satisfied with either the outcomes from the mentorship program, and they may not actually exist in a lot of companies. So mentorship is a very low rated variable for us. And then the fourth trend is the men in your office know it's a boys club. We started a blog recently. I'm not the best at keeping it up to date, but there's another post coming soon. But one of the ones that I kicked it off with was this concept where InHerSight actually welcomes men who have opinions on these subjects to go ahead and rate the areas for support. And we're looking at how their ratings compare to the women who rate those companies. And what we've seen has been really interesting and really encouraging, and that is that while they get the trends mostly correct, and they have a very similar perception, there are some areas where they still think things are a little rosier. And the primary area for that is around career opportunities. And they seem to think that career opportunities are a little more equal than women would rate them. And we see this, one of the upcoming posts is going to be about quantifying the boys club effect. A lot of our comments talk about that culture and about that feel. And we've all, listened to a lot of individual experiences from people like Ellen Powell about that. But it seems like career is definitely where we have the most room to improve our common understanding of what experiences we're having by gender in the workplace. But about 5% of our ratings have come from men, and they have been pretty consistent with what we're hearing from women, which I think is really encouraging. So I'm excited about that. So how you fit in. There are three main actions that I would really love to encourage everyone who's listening to take. The first is, of course, to rate your employer. You can rate current employers, and you can rate recent past employers. I hope everyone who has tuned in today will take 3 minutes. It's a very quick survey to rate your employer if you haven't already. Sharing your insights and helping other women on this search is incredibly powerful, and it is one of those approaches to change and approaches to helping other people that requires a lot of participation. So the more people participate, the more valuable the information is going to become, not just to the other women who are coming to the site, but to the companies as well. They need to feel like they're getting a critical mass of feedback that they feel comfortable taking action on, and feeling like this is representative of a large enough percent of the women who work for them. The second is to use the site to find a company in the workplace that meets your needs. We have thousands of companies rated already, and we're developing better ways than just simple search for you to start to find those companies that support you in the areas that you're looking for. And I really encourage you to start checking it out and to give us feedback and say, hey, this information is great and I love how it's represented. Here's how I'd like to see this other information, or I really wish you had this functionality. Start using it as a tool and let us know what you think. And then the third way that I would love for you to help is to spread the word. When you recommend something like this to women, we see things sort of take off. As soon as somebody posts on Facebook, we get lots of ratings. Similarly, as soon as someone in an organization rates a company for the first time, we are always fascinated to watch how it spreads. Over the course of 1 to 2 weeks, it can go from having its first rating ever to having 45 or 50 ratings all organically. Companies are actually even posting links to it on their websites and tweeting about it now and asking women to go and rate. So it's very, very helpful if you can spread the word and share it with colleagues and friends so we can keep growing the information that we have and make the site even more valuable to working women. That's all I have for today. I would love to take any questions that you have about InHerSight or about the team.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ursula. And I'm like over here geeking out over InHerSight. And I know a lot of women who are watching this are probably feeling the same way, because the potential of this data-based insight for women navigating career change to me just seems so profound. So just to echo what Ursula is saying here, let's spread the word. This to me feels like a secret society that we're building that has so much potential to be that sort of girlfriend to girlfriend, the kind of hallway chatter you might not get until you start the new job. Let's get that before we start the new job. Here at Bossed Up, we focus primarily on helping women navigate career transition. So to me, this seems like an essential tool to making those inflection points and those key decision moments in your life with the best, most timely insights available. So I just want to echo Ursula's statements. And at this time, I've got a couple of questions for Ursula, but if you have any that you want to ask, clarifying questions about getting started, feel free to type them into the chat bar. I'm also going to reiterate the different handles and hashtags that you can use to chat with us on Twitter, because we'll continue to communicate about this even after today's conversation ends. So my first question, Ursula, is just participating with InHerSight is completely free right now, right? There's no barrier. It's a 2-minute survey that's totally open, right? Oh, you're actually muted again. Huh, that's weird because you didn't mute before, but you are muted now. Let me turn my mic off and see if we can hear from you. No, I'm going to give you a second to try sorting that out because I still don't actually hear you. We're going to come back to you. I don't hear you still. Keep trying. And so we'll come back for questions. Sorry about that, folks. We love anymeeting.com, but every single time I do this, we're faced with a new, different way to play with technology and the little gremlins that come out. Okay, so let me wrap things up then. Thank you again to Ursula. And if you have questions, thanks, Leona. Type them in the chat bar, tweet at me. We've got a lot of boss tips that have been coming out at bossedup.org, InHerSight on Twitter as well. We can answer questions that way if Ursula's mic doesn't come back. In the meantime, this is a very exciting time for Bossed Up. Our events are picking up both online, nationally, globally, and in person here in DC. So I want to make sure you're all officially invited to join us in Washington, DC, July 2nd. We're having our 2nd annual Boss of the Year party. And this is not celebrating bosses in terms of authority figures. What we're talking about is the kind of woman who's bossed up, who takes her own choices, moments into her own hands, who owns her power and knows her worth. Just today, we announced our 5 incredible nominees for this year's Boss of the Year and opened up voting. So head over to bossedup.org, cast your vote for one of the 5 nominees. join us at the Boss of the Year party on July 2nd. And basically, let's get together for a celebration of bossed up women. And the proceeds of that event go to fund our need-based scholarships for Bossed Up Boot Camp. So it's a great event. It's going to be super fun. We even have boozy cupcakes to help make the event especially amazing, and free drink tickets to the first 25 people who get there. So it's going to be amazing. It's going to be off the hook. Join us on July 2nd, and I'm excited that InHerSight is one of our official community sponsors of the event. Next week at the same time, same place, we have our next Wednesday workshop all about taking your boss resume to that next level. So register at bossedup.org/events to see all the upcoming events, including that free webinar. And finally, our flagship training program, Bossed Up Boot Camp, the weekend to transform your life and navigate transition while getting bossed up across work, love, and wellness, all in one weekend with expert-led trainings and just a really phenomenal experience to help you be the boss in your life. That's coming up July 24th and 25th. It's probably going to be the very last one of the year because we have some other exciting things happening this fall. So if you're interested in coming to boot camp and really transforming your life, apply today. Applications are coming in quickly. And in there, you can tell us about your financial needs. We have flexible payment plans, and we will make it work for you if it's the right program for you. So make your case, apply today, and let other bosses know about it. It really is the training program that Bossed Up started on, and it's why we're all here today, because it's really been an impactful way to turn your life around. So I'm so sorry that Ursula's mic is not working, but just to reiterate, InHerSight is free, it's open, and it's on the rise. I see nothing but bright things in Ursula's future and the future of InHerSight, and I hope that each and every one of us can be a part in supporting their growth, because that's a perfect example of lift as we climb. As we help InHerSight gain more insight, we gain more insight. Thanks so much for joining us for this week's Wednesday workshop with Ursula Mead and InHerSight. I hope to see you again real soon, and in the meantime, keep bossing. Talk to you soon, ladies.